This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Psst, healthcare pros, word's out, and it's too good to keep quiet. Look, LinkedIn is revolutionizing job hunting, making it possible to search by specialty, shift preference, and salary. Endless scrolling is out. Whether it's a mental health therapist or dental hygienist, finding the perfect role is faster and easier than ever. Head to linkedin.com/healthcare and start your search today.
When I wake up, well, I know I'm gonna be the man who wakes up next to you. When I go out, yeah, I know I'm gonna be the man who goes along with you. If I get drunk.
All right. Well, we've got some recruiting news. We've got the SEC Power Rankings going into Week 6. We've got a football game to talk about as Oklahoma gets ready for Kent State. Game week number 5 for the Sooners is upon us. It's here. Welcome to this episode of the Sooner Nation podcast, the final episode for the month of September. And again, thank you so much to everyone who's been along this ride with us through the 2025 college football season. I just want to say, if you're listening to us, if you like what you hear, if you're subscribing to us, man, if you could give us a like, if you haven't subscribed, if you could give us a subscription on whatever platform you're getting us on, we really, really appreciate it. It helps us do what we do. It helps us accomplish our goals. And man, we're thankful to be able to be here and to do this. So let's talk about recruiting, because once again, we're seeing Brent Venables work his magic for the 2027 class. And they just landed another big time target. Not just any commitment. This is the one that's going to say a whole lot about the direction that Oklahoma football is heading and the path that they're continuing to take, and the identity of this team as he keeps building within the SEC. So keep in mind, when Brent Venables came to Norman, what he promised was defense, right? That Oklahoma football wouldn't just be known for throwing the ball all over the field, putting up 50 points, and lighting the scoreboard. What he wanted was for the Sooners to be known for defense, hard-nosed defense, disciplined, relentless, suffocating. Those were his words. And with every recruiting class, we can see that promise kind of being kept brick by brick. And we're seeing the results really play out in real time with this 2025 season. But if you look down the road, if you look into the future, you see the latest piece for what's to come for Sooner Nation. 4-star cornerback Mikhail McCreary out of San Antonio, Texas. And this is a huge get. This is a huge get for Oklahoma, especially as early as we are into that 2027 cycle. Keep in mind, we're talking 2027. Now, he is ranked, as of right now, the number 18 corner in the country. He's a top 200 overall player in the 24/7 Sports composite, and he just became Oklahoma's 5th pledge for that class of 27. So why does this matter? Because this isn't about stockpiling stars. And we've seen this transformation take place in the recruiting philosophy. This is Brent Venables going out and saying defense is still our foundation. And he's building it at the line of scrimmage, absolutely. But he's also locking it down on the back end. And you look at the balance. You look at the balance on what they're trying to do with this 2027 class. Because this is a class that's headlined by a 5-star offensive tackle in Cooper Hackett. You got a 4-star athlete, Damari DeZern. And so you've got big-time talent on the offensive side of the ball. But McCreary now gives the class its first defensive piece. And man, when you look at his film, understand he's a youngster. But when you look at his film, he looks like he's the perfect fit for what Oklahoma wants to do, what they are doing now with these big physical corners. So here's what you need to know about him. As a sophomore, he tallied 46 tackles and 3 interceptions. He was named the Texas District 27 6A Newcomer of the Year. He's 6 feet tall. He's got this long athletic frame and he's versatile. 247's Gabe Brooks described him as this, a corner by trade, but someone who can also play outside, slide into the nickel, and even drop back into safety. So if you know what Brent Venables likes to do schematically, that type of flexibility is just gold. This is a defense that thrives on disguise, on moving guys around, on keeping quarterbacks guessing. And McCreary checks every single one of those boxes. But here's the other side of it. And this is where I think Venables is really, really making he's just setting the foundation with the relationship side of this. We're not talking about a flash in the pan type of commitment with McCreary. Oklahoma's been recruiting him since June. He did a workout with Venables and Jay Valai, and that really kind of put him on the staff's radar. Then the visit happened, and that's what McCreary said it just kind of clicked. His exact words were, man, the timing just felt right. It felt like home. And if you've been following Oklahoma recruiting since Venables took over, that's the theme. Over and over, we hear from these recruits, it feels like home. They're not just buying into depth charts. They're not just buying into jersey numbers. They are buying into a genuine relationship, a family-style relationship. And McCreary, he even said what set Oklahoma apart was the staff's consistency, that they've been straight with him since day one, showing him that not only how he fits into what they want to do, but also how they believe in him. And that matters. And that's why I think this is one of those early commitments that you don't need to be worried about him. But let's also not miss the timing here. He committed on this week. Oklahoma's going into the Kent State game ranked number 5 in the country, 4-0 in the season. And you've got a defense that's just given up 207 yards and an average of 9 points per game. So that's not hype, that's results. And if you're a young defensive back who wants to develop under a proven defensive mind, why wouldn't you pick Oklahoma? Texas A&M, Arkansas, Texas Tech, Houston, even SMU, they were all in the mix, all regional schools, many Texas schools, but none of those programs are playing the kind of defense that Venables has going on right now on the field. And here's the bigger picture. With McCreary in the fold here, this 2027 class, it is ranked high. I think Rivals has them at number 3, and 247 has them at number 1. And again, remember, it's so early. It's so early because we're talking 2027. But it's proof that Venables and his staff aren't just winning games on Saturdays. They're winning battles on the recruiting trail that set up the future of this program. And remember, this is all within now the new footprint of the SEC. You don't just survive in this league without elite defensive guys on all levels. You need guys on that back end, though, who can cover, who can tackle, and who can adapt to all the different offenses that you're going to see week in and week out. And McCreary's skill set, he is tailor-made for this. So, he's still a high school junior. There is a lot of football to be played before he even signs that letter of intent. But, man, I still say that's the beauty of this commitment. It's early, but it's secure. And it's a part of a bigger plan. I don't think, Venables and Valai, they don't just sell a highlight reel. What they do with recruits is they lay out a blueprint. And so McCreary knows as he's committed, he knows where he fits. He knows how he develops. And I think he knows what his future looks like in this program. And that's the type of clarity that you want to hear about if you're a recruit. You want your staff to tell you that and to map it out for you. So as a fan, what does this mean? Well, like I said earlier, it means that this isn't a staff that's just piling up offensive stars. It's about building a program. It's about building balance. It's about being more SEC ready. It's about championship caliber. You got Hackett on the offensive line. You got DeZurin as that versatile athlete who's going to make explosive plays as a receiver. And now you've got McCreary, who's the shutdown defensive back who can do it all. There's your balance. That's culture. That is intentional. So the bottom line is this. For me, the bottom line is this. McCreary's commitment, it's more than just another 4-star in this class. I think it's a sign. I think it's a sign that Brent Venables has a defensive vision that is still very much alive, very much well, and is resonating with this next generation of elite defenders. And if you're a fan of the program, which is probably the reason why you're listening to this podcast, you've got to love that. Because what you're seeing is the foundation of something special. You're seeing the foundation growing into this defense that's built for longevity. Like, you don't rebuild, you reload type mentality. So that's a quick recruiting breakdown. Oklahoma's 2027 class, it's growing, it's young, but it's balanced and it's strategic. And now you've got a defensive cornerstone in place with McCreary. And, we know they're going to keep stacking commitments. So, I think what we're seeing on the field in 2025 is also playing out in the recruiting, on the recruiting level, that Oklahoma is just not trying to survive in the SEC. They are thriving in it. And you just got to think it's just going to keep getting better. Let's come back and break down the SEC. I'm going to tell you how I would rank them from worst to first going into week 6. And I think you might like who's number 1.
Mint is still $15 a month for premium wireless. And if you haven't made the switch yet, here are 15 reasons why you should. 1, it's $15 a month. 2, seriously, it's $15 a month. 3, no big contrast. 4, I use it. 5, my mom uses it. Are you playing me off? That's what's happening, right? Okay, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
So if you follow us on the website, heartland-sports.com, you see a weekly feature that we do where we do the power rankings within the SEC. They come out every Tuesday, same day I'm recording this podcast, so they're there for you to look at. And it's a collective consensus rankings of 3 guys. But I don't think I spend enough time. Caleb and I kind of hit it up Thursday night, just telling you about the teams that we have ahead of Oklahoma. But I want to talk about 16 to number 1. Because week 5, it brought some massive shakeups that I think have kind of reshaped the SEC going into week 6. Because there were people out there, I'm one of them, who kind of thought Georgia was untouchable. There were people out there, I'm not one of them, who really thought LSU was rolling into one of the elites in this conference. And there were people out there who thought Alabama was just kind of floating around somewhere in the middle of the pack. And all of that has changed in one weekend of football. First off, you got the big headliner from the weekend. Alabama beats Georgia 24-21. So the Bulldogs finally take a loss, but they have been sitting at number 1 all season long. They consensus with our group was the Bulldogs, and I thought, honestly, I had the Bulldogs as kind of already penciled in for a spot in Atlanta. I still think that they have the deepest roster in the conference. But, man, Alabama walks in there and just made a statement. And we know that this is a crew that's not just with the Tide. The longer you let them hang around, the more dangerous they become. But this wasn't hanging around as much as this was just kind of coming out swinging. And so I think you have to say Alabama is back in the conversation for a conference title. And I know a lot of people wanted to bury them after that season opener against Florida State. But also I was saying be careful with that because of the number of injuries that the Tide had on the defensive side of the ball. And I don't know that this says a lot of negativity towards Georgia, but more kind of the progress we've seen Alabama make through the month of September. Because I think Georgia's still a really good team. Absolutely, they're no longer deemed invincible. That aura of invincibility is gone. But I still think they're a very dangerous, very deep, very talented team. Then you've got Ole Miss knocking off LSU 24-19. And I think this was probably the biggest upset, biggest game within the conference. Because LSU's been kind of sitting in that top three mix. But then they ran into a team that's just a little bit tougher than they are, a little bit more powerful than they are. And Ole Miss showed that they can grind out a defensive win. And that's been the knock against Lane Kiffin. And so that's a statement right there. Like we've seen Ole Miss light up the scoreboard. We've seen that over and over and over again. But now we're seeing them show balance. And I think that becomes a very dangerous conversation to have within this conference. For LSU, though, I mean, you blow out an FCS opponent the week before. That didn't really tell us very much at all. But now you lose this one, and I think it's a reset button where everyone has an open opinion about LSU moving forward. They're just kind of like, let's wait and see. So you got Texas A&M knocking off Auburn in College Station. And this is a tale of two teams here because the Aggies keep stacking wins within the conference. Not pretty, but still winning. And when you survive instead of dominate, voters kind of notice this. But then again, Oklahoma survived Auburn the week before. And so what I think we're seeing here is maybe more telling about Auburn than we are about Texas A&M. Because the Tigers, clearly not in that upper echelon. But also, I don't think they're in that second tier either. They're doing enough to be in a football game, but not enough to win the football game. Speaking of which, how about Mississippi State? They lose 41-34 in overtime to Tennessee. And I think for Mississippi State, even though they lost the game, that's still a win. That's a perception win. Because the Bulldogs gave Tennessee everything that the Vols wanted and did a little bit more. And so I think Tennessee doesn't really lose anything. I think they just kind of hold serve. They don't lose ground for going into overtime against Mississippi State. They don't gain ground for beating Mississippi State. I think they just stay right there in the middle. But I'm telling you, if you're sweating in Knoxville right now, you're probably not alone. Missouri keeps doing its thing. I mean, they hammered UMass 42-6, but again, that's UMass. So it's not going to wow anybody, but it keeps the Tigers steady. And a lot of people are starting to take notice of Missouri. That's the Tigers in the conference that people are paying attention to, not the Auburn Tigers. Vanderbilt, same thing. I mean, they drop a 55-point nut, just shellacking on Utah State. Not a signature win, but you've got an offense for the Commodores that's looking crazy dangerous. And then you go down to the bottom of this league. Kentucky just steamrolled by South Carolina. And that's a big deal because that kind of separates those guys in the basement. And South Carolina, not in the basement. Kentucky, definitely in the basement. So was Arkansas. They just got smashed by Notre Dame. Now the question is, where's Florida in all of this? Because they were idle, along with Texas, along with Oklahoma. But you've got Florida and Texas going head-to-head this Saturday. And a lot of people are looking at the Gators kind of being one of those basement teams. They'll have a chance to prove or disprove that based on what happens Saturday with the Longhorns. So how do I rank them? How would I rank the SEC? Here is what I voted this week going into week 6. At the very bottom of the conference, I've got Kentucky. I think this team is completely lifeless. They've got to show a pulse, and until they do so, they're stuck. Same thing with Arkansas. This is your basement. That Notre Dame beatdown not only left them buried in the basement, it also got their coaching staff fired. Then that first step out of the basement, that's where I've got Florida. Based on what they do with Texas, they can lose to Texas and still stay out of the basement. If they lose bad to Texas, because Texas does not have a marquee win. We'll talk about them here in a minute. But based on how that goes, that's what we're going to do with Florida. Auburn at number 13, they need a resume boost, and they don't have it. They don't have a significant win. Their best win is over Baylor in the opening game of the season. Now, I've got South Carolina moving up just a little bit this week because it was a convincing win, but it was a win over Kentucky. So you got to take that into factor. I only dropped Mississippi State one spot. I dropped them to number 11 because they were competitive, but it's still a loss, and so you can't hold serve there. Vanderbilt, I moved them up one spot because this is a team that's quietly playing solid football, and like I said, that offense is becoming more and more noticeable and more dangerous each week. Moving on into the top 10, Missouri at number 9. I mean, they keep winning. Tennessee at number 8. They survived Mississippi State, but I slid them back one spot to number 8 this week. I did drop LSU 4 spots. I mean, this slide is real. They've got to regroup because you don't want it to snowball. I don't know what to do with Texas. I know you flexed. I know you flexed on Sam Houston, but you definitely didn't flex on Ohio State. That's the only ranked team you've played. Things are going to start getting real for the Longhorns, and they'll move up or down. This is where it gets crazy when you go into the top 5. Because I don't know what to do with Texas A&M. I think they're a top 3 team. I really do. But I can't put them in the top 3. I actually slid them down a spot to number 5 from number 4 last week. Because I put Ole Miss up 4 spots into number 4. What Ole Miss did earned them a big jump. And I look at the resumes, and I think Ole Miss has the stronger resume. I got Georgia at number 3. I dropped them down 2 spots from where I had them at the top. I still think this team is loaded. I still think they're dangerous. But I think, they'll use the boxing term, Alabama proved that they can bleed. So the 2 teams I haven't mentioned here, obviously, are Alabama and Oklahoma. That Florida State loss still stings. Impressive win over Georgia, but the resume is not perfect. And people are going to have a problem with Oklahoma number 1 just based off of John Mateer's injury situation. But here's 2 things you know about the Sooners. The 2 things you know are that they're 4-0, and they've got 2 wins over top 25 opponents. The second thing that you know is that they're going to be 5-0 going into Dallas to face Texas, because your grandma could probably play quarterback and beat Kent State. So that the win over Georgia puts Alabama right back in the hunt. They are alive and well, but again, stacking resumes. I think that Georgia's loss opened the door for the Sooners to step into number 1. Because they're undefeated, because they're playing elite defense, I think they deserve to be at the top of the conference. So here are the headlines. I mean, going back and looking at the whole thing. Alabama and Ole Miss, they're your big risers going into week 6. Both moving up 4 spots, both having signature wins. Alabama's win was the statement of the season so far, in my opinion, within this conference. And, I mean, I think Ole Miss proved that they can hang with the heavyweights, and they are they're there to be contenders. On the flip side of that, Georgia and LSU, they're the ones who slid the biggest this week. Obviously, the Bulldogs no longer in that top spot. It's the first time this season, I'm pretty sure that we've not had them there. I know it's the first time I've not had them there. But LSU, I think, takes a bigger hit because there were more question marks about the Tigers before that loss. And then you go down to the lower half. South Carolina separates itself a little bit with the win over Kentucky. So what does all this mean? Well, I think it means that the SEC is wide open right now. I think Oklahoma is in a good spot, even with the quarterback situation being what it is. I think they've earned the right to be at the top. But I think the pack behind them is crazy crowded and crazy talented. You got Alabama showing signs of life. You got Ole Miss surging. You got Georgia still now with a chip on their shoulder. You got LSU kind of wounded. You got Texas lurking in the background. I didn't even mention Texas A&M. So I think that's what makes this conference so much fun. Because every week, somebody's story is going to change. And if week 5 taught us anything, it's this, that literally nobody is safe. No one's safe in this conference, and momentum will shift fast. So, obviously stick around because things are trending. I think we're going to see more fireworks next weekend. So there it is. There's your SEC power rankings. The breakdown going into week 6. Oklahoma takes over the top spot. Alabama, Ole Miss back in the spotlight. And Georgia finally gets knocked off the throne. Now, here's the one thing I know I can promise you. There's zero chance that those rankings stay that way going into week 7. Hey, guess what? We got a game on Saturday, Oklahoma, Kent State. Let's talk about that.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
Oklahoma back on the field Saturday afternoon against Kent State. Let's start with the big picture here. Kent State's 1-3. Their only win coming against Merrimack. Oh, man. I guess better competition. They have been exposed, and they have been exposed badly. Man, one game, their defense gave up almost 500 rushing yards. That is not a misprint. That's not me misspeaking. Nearly 9 yards per carry. So if Oklahoma can't run the ball on Saturday, then you fully give up on everything. Because Kent State is one of the worst defenses in the country right now, if not the absolute worst. And look, the offensive side of the ball is not really setting the world on fire either. They're scoring just under 19 points per game, and they struggle to sustain drives. So you're looking at this from the perspective of an Oklahoma fan, from this perspective of the Oklahoma team. The Sooners should roll in this game. They should just steamroll this team, and the sportsbooks agree. Oklahoma right now, on Tuesday, 45.5 point favorite. You got an over-under sitting around 53.5. So you got the Sooners. This is insane. You got the Sooners favored by almost 46, 45.5. And the total is 53.5. So what that tells you is that Vegas expects Oklahoma to put this one away, win it big, win it early. So here's the twist. This isn't about beating Kent State. This is about Oklahoma finding its rhythm as they get ready to go back into the remaining gauntlet of the conference play. John Mateer's out, which means Michael Hawkins Jr. is the guy. This is his chance to show that he can manage a game, but really do something that John Mateer hasn't done, protect the football. This offense they don't need to look adequate. They need to hum. They need to look efficient. And I think that's the storyline that really, really matters the most for Oklahoma. You're looking more at the quality of the product as more so than the quality of the opponent. Because, look, the biggest problem that Kent State has, it's on the defensive side of the ball. And it's a problem across the board. So you've got a team that's given up over 215 rushing yards a game. And they've not been much better against the pass. Then you add in there an average of 24 penalties for 175 yards through their 4 games. I mean, you've got a team that beats itself almost as much as the opponent does. 18.3 points per game is what they're average on offense. So clear that's not enough offense to scare anybody away, let alone the defense that Oklahoma is going to put on the field. I mean, you're looking at not just the best defense you've played if you're Kent State. You're looking at not just one of the best defenses in the SEC. You're looking at potentially the best defensive front in the entire country. So if Kent State cannot stay ahead of the change, and history says that they're not going to be able to. Again, I think this is a game that snowballs out of control in a hurry. But there's opportunity here for Oklahoma. If we swing this discussion back towards the Sooners, here's where things I think get interesting for OU. The defense has been rock solid. There's no questioning that. But the offense, they need answers. We know the run game. We know the struggles there. And against Auburn, they got stuffed. There's no other way to put it other than say that they got stuffed. 1.9 yards per carry against the Tigers. So what we know is that that's not going to cut it in conference play. We know that the offensive line's got to be better. We know guys like Michaela and Fabechi Nui that they've got to get healthy because they've been dealing with those, air quotes, bumps and bruises. But we also know that this is a game where Oklahoma's offense is going to get Javonte Gibson back. And that's a big boost. I don't think he gets 100% snaps, but I think he gets enough to work out some things to be ready for Texas. He gives Michael Hawkins not just another weapon, but a big body weapon with all the talent that comes with it. The type of big body, the type of talent that can really elevate the vertical passing game. And that's exactly, when you're talking about a young quarterback, that's the kind of pressure relief that you want. On the other side of the ball, you're getting Eli Bowen back defensively. Not going to be challenged as much at the corner, but it's reps that get him ready for Texas. It's reps that are going to help stabilize the secondary. And this is a prime chance for Oklahoma to finally force turnovers. Now, when Caleb and I record on Thursday, and he sets the over-under at 1 turnover, I'm going under. Just because I'm going to do the same thing with Jaron Koenig and touchdowns. I'm going under because maybe I'm the curse, right? Maybe that's me. But this is a team that hasn't forced turnovers yet in 2025. And if there was ever a week to break that streak, this is it. This is the best opportunity that they're going to have moving forward. So what should we expect? I think offensively you expect a very controlled game plan. I think you'll see short passes. I think you'll see quick reads from Michael Hawkins. I think you're going to see a heavy rotation of running backs. And I think you're going to see enough downfield shots to do 2 things. Keep Kent State honest and try out the vertical passing game with Gibson back. And I think the real goal here is to let Michael Hawkins Jr. settle in without having to put the entire game on his shoulders. To finally kind of get some confidence, to find a rhythm, to kind of get in a groove, so to speak. So as you know, you go into this game knowing it's going to be a blowout. So what do you look for? Well, personally, here's what I'm looking for on Saturday. Most specifically, here's what I want to see. I want to see turnovers. Does Oklahoma finally get one? And does Oklahoma finally not give one away? I mean, that's going to be something to watch. They've lost the turnover battle every game this season. I want to see if that changes. And the second thing I want to watch is the poise of Michael Hawkins. Does he look calm? Does he rush his throws? Is he too juiced up? Is he too anxious? Or does he look like he's in control? Number 3, I want to see efficiency from the running game. I don't want Michael Hawkins to be the leading rusher for this team. Can the Sooners dominate on the ground? Can they do it? Or do they kind of still look like they're running in mud? I want to see what Eli Bowen looks like. How does this secondary look with him? Does Cortland still get the start and Bowen works his way in? I think that's probably the way it's going to happen. Or does Bowen immediately go in there as the starting quarterback? And then you want to see the youngsters. You want to see game management. Once Oklahoma builds a comfortable lead, how quickly do they put backups in and what backups play? I mean, I can't imagine Michael Hawkins being the only quarterback in this game just because he's too valuable without knowing what John Mateer's status is for the next week. Also, you've got to get the guy behind him, QB number 3. You got to get that guy some reps because now he's QB number 2. I mean, look, we'll do our prediction on Thursday night's podcast. But I think this is a game where Michael Hawkins is going to be efficient. I think this is a game where the Sooner defense is going to smother Kent State. And I think that this is a game that's going to look exactly like what the odds makers expected. One-sided game. But I will give you a full breakdown of my score and the over-under because I think I think 53.5 is interesting. There are some garbage time concerns that I think you would throw in there. But I don't know. We'll talk about all that on Thursday. So that's going to wrap it up for this. Saturday, 3 o'clock, SEC Network. Oklahoma gets one last non-conference test. And I use that word test very, very loosely, but it's definitely a tune-up. I think it's about Michael Hawkins Jr. It's about rediscovering the running game. It's about sending a message both to the team, to the fan base, and the opponents before the heart of this SEC conference play heats up. So until Thursday, you can find us on the website, heartland-sports.com. You can find our community on Facebook, Heartland Sports on Facebook. Again, thanks for hanging. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for following along with us on the season. We've got more coming up on the Sooner Nation podcast this week. Thanks for being with us. See you soon.
I'm gonna be the man who's working hard for you.